Dude, I swear to God, I thought Jamal changed races. In the event that this one gets crowded, I created and tagged a room that's peer.in/astro. Yeah, it's Astro TWFP.
Okay.
So that's always an option if you ever want to use that.
Okay.
That way it can be a safe haven for all of us feelers.
Hmm. Okay. So let's see. What other aspects do you want to talk about?
Hold on.
Uranus is pretty interesting because it involves change and revolution.
Uranus. What about Uranus?
It mainly deals with revolution and change and sort of like independence, radical ideas.
Yeah, I have 2 gray boxes in Uranus.
Me too.
Yeah, I have the one I posted, which is conjunct Venus, and then Uranus trine ascendant.
What about Venus? What do you have in Venus?
What do I have in Venus? I have something fun in Venus. Just give me just a second.
Oh my gosh. I have
I have Venus in Capricorn. Venus conjunct Uranus. Venus conjunct Neptune. Venus trine ascendant. And then Venus in the 9th house.
I have Venus in the 11th house.
Well,
I'm gonna read you some like anything interesting or weird. Mine says demandingness in partnerships and emotional and sensuous greediness, lives for higher standard, longs for luxury, self-indulgence, frugality, laziness or indolence, exaggerated need to assert oneself, sometimes gambler. Wow, it says quantity of relationships comes before their quality. That's not true though. But maybe
normies.
yeah, mine keeps saying that I'm into occult stuff.
I think Venus in the 9th house is sort of a sort of funny description.
What does it say?
These people are attracted by the foreign cultures, which may result in a marriage with a foreigner, or at least a close relationship with one.
Is that true? Do you like
Yeah.
foreigners?
I mean, I think they're both intriguing and sort of scary in a way, because I think with foreigners currently in my life, I think I'm more, wary, because I'm like, wondering how exactly we're going to get along, or like where our, commonalities are going to be at. But I think really the goal there is to see what's common amongst people, not necessarily just upbringing. Within. So I guess it's more like seeking what's foreign. It's more like a breeding ground for seeking what's crucial or integral to.
And you're completely comfortable with being in a relationship with a foreigner?
I mean, comfortable?
Yeah, like you're okay with it. Like if you ask
Well,
anyone,
whether or not I'm okay with it doesn't equate to being comfortable, because I might not be comfortable and might be okay with it.
yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is that someone might not even think that would be an option, right? So I mean, like, what's your first sort of reaction when you think of that? Is it like, oh, that's good, or is it like, I don't know if that would work?
I see it as, obviously it would depend more on the individual, but at least the prospect of it, I think, is full of possibilities. So if you're looking for a good or bad judgment, I guess I'm saying I don't have a good or bad judgment, but I'm open to it.
Yeah, see, I would be completely closed off.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, as a potential mate.
I'd like to be able to see in what ways we could find each other despite differences.
I see. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know if it would work out though. Maybe I'm a little bit of a pessimist. Jupiter in Scorpio. It says a sense of deep changes and development of the psychic powers, an invisible but absolute authority, winning the recognition through controlling the others, a devoted, tough, ambitious, and inventive nature with clear mind and powerful passions.
Mm-hmm. I see these as aspects that sort of in descriptions they seem more standalone, but when you try to interpret them sort of through yourself in like the sort of cascade of. Do you have a TV on in the background?
Yeah, I'm gonna lower it. Yeah.
But what was I saying? It seems like interpreting those individual things. I mean, basically to me, it seems like an opportunity to try to understand yourself and try to see where pieces fit and like what makes sense for you.
Mm-hmm. Because it's not always going to be the same. It might manifest itself differently. Because someone who's an Aries, right? Mm-hmm. They really don't care what other people think of them, and they just do it. And they have this like insane energy, and they just do it. They rush forward. And Anthony has his moon in Aries, which honestly makes a lot of sense. But he's also Leo moon. He's also Leo, so he's confident.
It's like certain instincts are like, energies or like drives or stuff like that. I see as they could potentially be cut off or suppressed. But there's like I guess I see the potentiality as something different than necessarily what you see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you can interpret them differently, but at the same time, it's following something. Like it's not just like
like you mean it gives sort of these aspects.
Like with Myers-Briggs or socionics or whatnot. I'm sorry, that TV is still super loud.
One second.
You like watching the anime?
That's my sister.
Oh, okay.
I'm listening.
So like with Myers-Briggs or socionics, I see it as like, like people, they'll be talking about the types and they're like I get what they say when they're saying that, it's like, well, maybe maybe typology's wrong. Maybe we don't even have a type and, they don't really want to be put in the boxes. I get that. Like, I get that as we understand things, like the labels that we give to things may not necessarily be correct. but I don't like the attitude of like, oh, maybe, like that's not a thing, or maybe it doesn't matter. I think something matters, and I think endeavoring to find it is important. But at the same time, I'm not super attached to um, like any sort of hard and fast rules, even though I think that there could be rules. I just think that those are something you discover longer term.
Well, I mean, yeah, like, I also feel like it's sort of like your personality or how you kind of like your cognitive functions most of the time,
Uh-huh.
right? Your comfort zone. And then you have different sort of like ways that you interact or you think, but it's not as predominant.
Mm-hmm.
It's very archetype too.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I've done charts for people, and if they're sort of like beginners, I always tell them like it's all your mindset. It really doesn't impact you a lot, but it's bullshit. I think it's destiny and it's your personality. But I don't like telling people that because they might not be able to handle it.
Well, because I think there's like,
But it is potential. It's like what's most likely to happen.
well, it's I see it as potentiality through a stream. It's like water running, and it might branch off in different directions, but it's like where's it being pulled to? Like you might have a river that eventually dumps into a delta, but it's
Well, it's
like
also
it's being
yeah,
drawn somewhere. That's the thing.
but it's like a planet is on top of the string.
Mhm.
You know.
And I guess beyond that, as far as the planets go, I'm less attached to them as physical entities and more open to there being an influence that's not necessarily seeable.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because I guess I'm not
Yeah.
really into like, oh, it's the gravity of their positioning that
Well, that's the
does it.
thing
Like
is because like
I'm not attached to it in the physical like hard sciences aspect.
yeah, I could see that. I mean, that's what people who kind of some people who don't really believe they like I would explain it. It's because of the gravity and the pull. But it might be something else completely. It might be completely mystical. We just don't understand it right now.
Mm-hmm. Could be possible that something we wouldn't be able to understand, and
Oh,
maybe
ever
maybe
with our
maybe the
senses
yeah maybe the purpose isn't to understand it as much as it is to
to feel it.
perceive it or intuit it.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing as sensing.
Hmm.
I think that's what trips people up with intuition a lot of the time. Is it's like, okay, well, where is it? Like, point to it, show me it, and it's like that's you're paying attention to the things between things. Like but it's what I'm saying. The things between things, they're not things. It's like there's occurrences, or there's whether or not it's possibility or the transition of things. It's you're you're paying attention to something that's not, but at the same time, it clearly has an effect. It has an effect, but it doesn't have a form.
Yeah. Because it's so difficult to say, really pinpoint exactly what part of the moon impacts us. Because it's like, it's almost so irrational too. You can feel it, even if we don't know exactly what it is. The moon's, I think the best part of astrology is also figuring out, like daily astrology. So not the daily horoscopes, but like what sign the moon is during the day sort of gives this gives the energy to the day, so you feel like you're like it can kind of control how people feel. So
Mm-hmm.
today the moon is in Scorpio, so it's a little bit more about subconscious and sort of like hidden aspects of ourselves,
That's really
I
funny.
which is kind of what we're kind of talking about in a way. But you feel it. You feel like you're battling through that during the day, or you want to make action, but the moon sort of has this vibe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shit's cool, man.
Yeah, and like there was this guy on YouTube, and he talked about how you can kind of use it to your advantage as well. So like because the moon, and it changes signs all the time, right? Like let's say you have a court case,
Mm-hmm.
and like you have to go and like you have to go and like, but the moon isn't gonna be in Aries when you go to the court, right? It might not be so favorable, but if it's in Libra, then it might be favorable because you'll get balance in what happens. So like I'll set up my interview for a favorable sign like that, like Taurus, so that it could kind of work in my favor. It's like I just use anything that helps.
I think it's also interesting when people look at like whether or not it's typology or like astrology or stuff like that, and they try to predict an outcome, and then the outcome occurs and it's not the one that they wanted, and they're like, oh, well, look, it's broken. I'm like, you're also assuming that you are tracking all the moving parts.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's really difficult to do that.
Right. I'm not saying that the goal is to track all the moving parts. I think
It's also to get a general sense of the feeling, because you can't know. It's you have to use intuition at that
right.
point.
That's kind of what I
more.
was talking about with the intuition thing. Is it's I see it inherently more as like a sort of there's like a I'm not sure if I would draw the distinction like between NE or NI, like as we think of them in typology, but I definitely do think that as far as intuition in a broader sense is concerned, there is an illumination aspect. There's also a sort of groping in the dark aspect to it, where it's like you're trying to see something, but at the same time, your work is done in the dark. And by dark, I mean in the unknown.
That's so vague.
I kind of feel like that's where I can work is in the vagary.
Wait, what's your Mercury in again? What's your third house in again?
My third house.
Yeah. How are you explaining that?
Third house. Third house is Cancer.
Okay.
Does that not do it for you?
Mine's is Leo. So there might be a little bit of a
clash.
Yeah.
But you had mentioned Mercury, right?
Oh yeah, Mercury, yeah.
My most dominant thing, apparently, according to Tay, is Mercury in Aquarius.
Oh, so your Mercury is in Aquarius. Oh, okay. That explains a lot. I'm Mercury Mercury in Aries. Well, you see, that's how astrology works. You have to use it like this, right? Practical. So I'm Mercury in Aries, which means that my thought process is sort of like, how would I say it? A kind of head-on approach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Impulsive, a little bit impulsive. Then the third house is how you communicate things, how you write. So it's a Leo, so they're very confident. And
well, how do Cancers communicate?
So, yeah, Cancer's, it's a little bit more emotional, less.
Because that's my only Cancer influence.
I don't think, like, I'm just feeling it. Like, I'm trying to intuit it because, like, Cancers are just very moody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's less, I think it's because it's a water sign, they're less sort of fixed on the logic behind it and more the general sense and kind of wishy-washy. They're not really trying to like find the exact points.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm expressing. I'm not trying to find.
Yeah, you really are, and you're and that's how you're also communicating. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's the thing is I'm not trying to find the exact points because I feel like it's I mean to put it as plainly as I can and probably as accurately as I can. I feel like finding the finer points is counterintuitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but see, like someone like me, who has in Leo would say like you can find it. It's up to you to find it, and it's actually in your heart to find it, because Leo rules the heart. Right, and the fact that I'm taking over the conversation is kind of pinpoints that that's self-centered.
I think what's interesting and frustrating is that I think a lot of times people, and sort of what we're showcasing here, is that we can be talking about similar things or things that are ruled in a similar way, but we're coming at it from different perspectives. And because we're not matching up our perspectives, or we're not getting the same thing out of talking about it in the same way, we might think, oh, the other person's wrong.
Oh, yeah. No, but I can...
Like, yeah, go ahead.
No, continue.
No, that's pretty much what I was saying.
Yeah. It's very,
Hold off. We're talking more of that star shit.
Starship?
Yeah, star shit. We're talking astrology.
Oh. Okay.
I have an interview for this job thing, and the fucking moon is in Scorpio. So I guess, like, in a practical sense, what I'm gonna do is just work through my own subconscious habits, the dark side, so that I can get the fucking job. Whatever. Fuck.
I'm going to posture that if that's the main problem you have, then you obviously don't have many problems.
Are you being sarcastic?
Not really.
I'm lazy, and it's like, and the thing is, like, they're gonna. This is how you use the astrology, Ken. Right? The person's gonna ask.
This is how you do it.
This is how you do it. The person is gonna ask me, "Oh, what would you like to do?" And I'm gonna be like, and what's gonna come out is the energy of the moon is gonna be like, you need to fucking find out what you need, what you want, and I'm gonna be fucking nervous, and then all the subconscious fears are gonna overwhelm me, and the guy's gonna be like, I can't give you this job, so I need to prepare myself.
So those things normally aren't a problem? Just a particular sort of...
Well, the moon sort of makes it stronger. It kind of heightens those emotions, to say.
Oh, so it's an emotions thing. I got it.
Yeah, and it rules the mind in a way.
I'll just like, oh, that's why it escaped me.
I exist in various moods of...
Fucking Corey over here, naysayer.
Thing is, the moon is it can really control people without sounding too creepy.
Well, I mean, especially if they're Saiyans that haven't had their tails cut off. Yeah, Corey, maybe it's like the gravity
Wait, why
shift
couldn't it be
suddenly rearranges how your brain is floating in your head, and
Ken, I could have scheduled it for the 8th, and the moon would have been in Sagittarius, but it's in fucking Scorpio. Yeah, I'm just gonna pretend like I know what I want to do with my life, and that I like.
That's what we all do.
Yeah.
You don't pretend. Well,
just be put together.
My
but
theory
inside, I don't know.
Yeah, but you go in and you go with the attitude of, you go, hi, how do you like me so far?
But you're so confident. Not everyone's like that.
You just gotta do it.
There you go, Tay. Or fucking Annie.
Or, figure out what it is that makes you and, whatever state of being is you like be then and do that.
I mean, I think that the moon sign basically is like you're kind of like your state and the process of where you're at in life. So the fact that I'm trying to get into this job placement and it's in Scorpio means that there's hidden aspects that I don't know right now. Kind of what I feel.
Wasn't that part of the fun? Is not knowing it all.
It's scary too.
But being scary is also fun.
It affects different people different.
I'm trying to be encouraging. So, okay, I have a question. So your whatever astrological analysis of your situation, does that analysis provide a solution?
She is AFK for the moment. I don't know what she would say. However, I was telling to her earlier, I like the idea that these are sort of putting forth potential drives and aspects of oneself, and then kind of like with socionics or whatnot, it's giving you a template for temperament, and then it's up to you to choose how you're going to respond to that. At least for myself, I advocate volitional responsibility.
I was just going to propose that if this framework did not provide a way to improve upon the situation, then it was not a framework worth dwelling on in the situation.
I think what I've seen is a lot of times people have different takes on how they think it might work because they have different understandings of, I don't think just astrology, but I think how existence works. And I don't necessarily mean that in a hard science sort of way, although some people would be more prone to that. For me, I don't think I'm necessarily prone to it in a hard science sort of way. I'm trying to get at it from a sort of intuitive approach.
I think the only way astrology makes sense is if you accept the fact that we're in a giant simulation.
Did you say that life is a simulation?
Well, that would,
I
from
mean,
my
just
so far
because-
observations of astrology, that would be why the only reason why it would make sense.
Is what? Can you repeat that?
That we're in a simulation.
Oh,
We're in a simulation, and you're just so larger constructs are all determining other constructs, and so you can look at one to our perspective unrelated, but is actually systemically controlling aspect.
You know,
I don't really like that.
Corey, your comments just make me like a puzzle. I don't know.
Corey, I really like that statement because I feel like it's sort of like you can't smell the shit when you're in the sewer.
Yeah. You're saying existence is shit?
Well, he's not exactly saying existence is shit. I mean, he might be. That might be his
Not
opinion. But
I thought you said no shit for a second. Yeah, I understand. You can't. Yeah.
it's like until
You have
you'd
to
be
step outside of the box.
until you'd be outside of the
Then we
sewer.
can truly really know.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Hold on, let me be right back. I'm just gonna go get out the box.
No, you're not allowed. Stars saying,
Like, what was it? There was that Chronicles of Narnia book. I think the something in the Silver Chair, or maybe it's just called the Silver Chair. Like all the gnomes that were underground. Like there were all these gnomes that lived underground, and the ground started breaking, and the sunlight started coming through. And the people who had lived on the surface, like they knew that like life went on just fine on the surface, but the gnomes were freaking the fuck out. And they're like, well, I mean, what do you expect? The world's coming to an end.
Do you guys think the world's coming to an end?
That's not what I was getting at.
Oh.
Who's raping the audio with their background noises?
Not me.
I admit to nothing. How do you like me so far? I'm gonna blame it on astrology.
Hey,
I mean, she can blame it on astrology. It doesn't make her right, but she has that volitional freedom. That's one of the nice things about truth and rightiness and accuracy is that people's misgivings about it don't actually affect the nature of it. Like, you can be wrong and truth is still intact. You just, if you're an idiot, you know, you're an idiot on your own. Truth doesn't have any burden there. But yeah, Annie, I don't know if you read it, but you were like talking like, okay, again, this is how you use astrology. It's like I had this like immediate reaction to that, and I was like, I sort of correlated it with the Mercury and Aquarius thing.
Oh yeah, you were like, don't tell me how to use it. Yeah, that's how Aquarius are.
Like I'm open to things as far as like
But
like it might be, oh yeah, I might be able to use it this way, or I might be able to use it that way. But it's like when people get forceful, I'm like, yeah, fuck off.
Well, I was trying to give an example. Because, I mean, you can get so lost in reading about yourself. And it's like, you know yourself. I know myself. Right? It's like, how do you use it so that you can understand why you're having conflict with people? You know, like, okay, you have third house in Cancer, so maybe bring out that ascendant Cancer so that we can sort of be compatible to communicate. That's what I was saying. But you're like, nah.
Nah. Let's see
I'm
here.
familiar with that state of being.
Yeah, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, I found out my 12th house is in Gemini.
Really?
Yeah.
I got that one little bit of Aries.
Yeah, Aquarius are hard-headed as fuck.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, they are. They're so hard-headed. It's a fixed sign.
Well, I got it on Mercury and the Moon. And Midheaven.
There you go. Sorry. You're like, fuck you.
Yeah, it's very strange because I feel like I'm sort of malleable and open to a lot of different things, but then...
But are you really, though?
Well, I smile a lot, I'll shake hands, I'll make eye contact and be like, I understand. I totally understand what you're saying. And then off by myself, I'm like, they're totally fucking wrong. This is what's going on. Like, it's more like, in terms of rationalizations, I might find myself agreeing with people or thinking I ought to agree with people. But then in my actions, I find that I'm operating based off of what I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I might have it rationalized in my head that, oh, I'm acting this way because this is the, like, especially when I was younger, I was like, I want to do this because it's the right thing to do. And now I'm like, oh, I hear those words being echoed, but I don't think that's why I'm doing what I do.
Yeah, well, it's all subjective at the end of the day.
The words like truth, and then also accuracy, and then also subjective and things like that. I'm like, I kind of feel like, what's that thing? I think it was from, what do you call it? The Princess Bride. It's Mandy Patinkin, and he's like, I may be talking about the wrong movie, but it's the thing where he's like, you keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Oh. Yeah, I have my 9th house in Aquarius, which understands why I kind of hate church.
See, like Corey's saying, what's pragmatic is not subjective. That may be true, but my initial reaction to him asserting that is cool story, bro.
Yeah, I do think there's a truth, but there's also many truths. And when we talk about this, we're actually talking about, look at the houses.
Here's what
The 9th house, which is Aquarius, the search for higher meaning, higher education, and philosophy. I'm speaking from the 9th house, which is Aquarius. Maybe I'm talking too much.
So I wanted to go back to the truth thing, because I feel like as far as truth goes, people say like, there's many different truths, but I think where I clash with people a lot of the times isn't necessarily that I don't think that is true. I just think that the way that people mean it, like they could develop the way that they speak about it a bit more. I kind of see it as
well,
like,
also like,
I
mean, even
sorry. You could relate it to some astrological aspects, but I'm pushing to finish my sentence. What was it? I was gonna like draw the image of sort of like a wall separating two rooms, and truth is on one side of the wall, and there's different points of access leading to that room. So that takes the form of people saying there are many different truths, but what you find on the other side, it's all part of the same thing. So they don't contradict each other. Your ability to understand them and which points of access you're drawn to are certainly different, but what's on the other side, it's not going to be in contradiction. The only thing that will be in contradiction is if you're choosing one point of access. Somebody is saying, this point of access leads to truth, and somebody at a different point of access says, well, this one leads to truth, and that person says, well, you can't be right because this one leads there, and then somebody says they all lead to truth, and it's like, but from their point of view,
some take a little bit longer than others.
Yeah, from their point of view, this clearly leads to that, and this is true, and so since this is true, they want it to be exclusive that is true and that the other thing is not true, but I guess that's not necessarily how I see it. So I kind of feel like there is an overarching sense of, yes, things should be, either measured or like something's true. I guess in the nihilistic sense, I've never really ever been a nihilist, because I just think it's like just so anti myself. But to say that there's no meaning, I'm like, that just seems lazy. I'm more comfortable with people saying, I don't know, but if they're like not searching, I'm like, but the measurements are all based off us.
I agree with what Corey's saying. I don't want to ask your horoscope sign, but I do.
So I have a question, if you don't mind me asking. So the idea of astrology being, I guess, actually tied to anything, upon what do you think is the foundational kind of concept you have to accept in order to accept that as true?
That they all affect people. They have a large effect that is unseen and kind of unmeasurable by scientific methods.
So the spatial locations, the spatial and temporal locations of large bodies of matter somehow affect a human's mood depending on when they were born?
Their mood, their thought process, their entire personality, their entire basis of...
Yeah, I don't find I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, I'm not saying it's, I just, what is the foundational kind of...
That's it.
At least concept. But that's an accepting that it's, that's the result. And